So I have a fantasy football league with a bunch of friends from college that, like, shockingly, there are some like important people now that are in the group. Like, if you
didn't see that one coming.
No, like one's like a chief economist for the TSA and stuff. Like 3 of them live in DC, working in Congress and stuff. But it was just funny because they have like these power rankings that come out, and it's got this guy that writes jokes about everybody, has a little blurb about everybody.
Listen, we're going to lose people if we don't go into the topic.
I know, but the thing was that I give seizures every single week to people on Facebook Live. That was the only thing that you could come up with on me. So I apologize if you are difficult with the old flashing lights. So today I sent this email or this article to Mike yesterday, but Opendoor just got a $4.2 billion
4.8
with a B. 4.8 billion with a B. $4.8 billion offer.
Yes.
For Opendoor. So and like today we're going to kind of cover what that means for the real estate business, right, or industry as a whole, and more particular you as an agent. Is this going to have an impact on you? What is happening? Why is there so much money going into real estate companies like Opendoor? But we're going to dive into that.
And what you can do about it, right? Like it will have an impact. It will have an impact. It's not going to be an immediate one. It's going to be like the frog in the boiling water. But what you can do about it now to get in front of this thing, and several things like this. I mean, they're all coming in. They're trying to change the behavior of consumers to not call or use a real estate agent, but to call them, use their algorithm, sell your house to them, that type of thing, right? Buy from them, go through their vendors and use their vendors. So if you're a mortgage broker, if you're title, if you're insurance, like they want to own the whole thing, and they want it to be all on the interwebs, right? You click a button, you walk into a house. They know who you are. They tell you you're pre-approved. As soon as you walk in through the door, you use your app on your phone to get yourself in. You've already been vetted as far as the fact that you're not a criminal, so you have access, all those type of things, right? They just want to streamline it and own it and eliminate us, right? They see Amazon doing it with brick and mortar, right? They're like, why can't we do that to the old real estate agent? Well, I'll tell you why, because we're going to stop them, and we're going to talk about how to stop them on this call. Am I right?
We are.
All right.
And it's I'm super excited because like the more I was thinking about it, you know, when I was reading it last night too, like it just blows my mind because I remember Opendoor. So they started in Phoenix, probably like 4 or 5 years ago max.
Okay.
And the second market was Dallas, and I
remember.
They came in hot, right? Like
they did. We were doing the model back then and working on the brokerage for partner.
Yep.
Like and I remember looking at the stats. Yeah.
Yep. And they had mailers going out like crazy, radio ads, TV ads, and their radio ads were always following. I forgot the guy who had the Barbara Corcoran the rate thing in Dallas, but they were piggybacking that ad.
They were attacking him particularly, huh? Because he was probably coming in with a guaranteed sell offer.
Yep.
They're like, guaranteed sell, just give it to us, we'll buy it immediately.
Just coming in hot, right? And we were like, it was kind of one of those things. I was like, man, is this gonna be the first like little whack that starts taking out market share from the agent?
Yeah, I forget what they ended up with. They ended up with a sizable percentage of market share out of the gate. Like it was impressive. Like 1 or 2% or something. I was like, holy cow, out of nowhere. Yeah. But of course, if you're just throwing away free money and you're like, don't list your home, we'll buy it. I mean, people are going to go for that.
Yeah. And like the whole model, like if you don't have Opendoor in your market, essentially like they had to make some changes in DFW. So like they stopped offering more than like 300 or 400,000. Any houses over that, they just stopped. They said that's not part of what we can do anymore. But one of the great things when I was looking at my house, like I enjoyed going to look at Opendoor houses because you don't need an agent. You download the app, and the app senses when you're close to the door and unlocks it for you.
No way.
Yeah.
I didn't know that technology was even here.
Opendoor open houses go from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day. 7 days a week because they're vacant houses.
Oh, it's an everyday open house.
Yep. Yeah. So you just sign up for the app, walk in, it registers that you're the one that unlocked the door. So if anything happened, they got cameras and stuff set up. So they got their bases covered, right? But it was just so convenient for the
well, and think about
quarantine.
The younger generation too. I mean, like, so many people don't even want to make a phone call to order a pizza, right? Just go on the app or just do it online, you know? And it's especially, I found it to be more prevalent with certain personality types like S's and C's, you know? Like our dev team, they ain't calling anybody for food, you know? I mean, like, just all of a sudden some ninja comes in with food. I'm like, how did that happen, right? Seriously.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's just, but that would be the preference, would be to not have to talk to anybody. So a lot of things to compete against there that are going against, you know, human desire and human nature. But the thing that I think is the most prevalent with humans in general is the desire for self-interest. And self-interest, as far as money is concerned, is always going to trump, right? Like convenience, you know. So that what I found is that people generally gravitate towards that over even a relationship, unfortunately, right? Because in America, we're not a real big relationship-based type of what's the word I'm looking for there, Jake? In Asian cultures, they would have more of that, right? You would even use your friend if it cost you more money. Over here, my sister would use another agent if it would save her more money. You know what I mean? Like, literally, that happened.
Right. So. Literally, that happened.
Yeah. So yeah, I was talking about it the other day with a buddy. I was like, man, my sister bought this house because you know what happened? She got in a frenzy. She got in a panic. It was like an open house and it was foreclosure, and there were multiple people there going to bid on it, and she just didn't want to have the possibility of losing the deal. So she just wrote it up right there with the listing agent, and then called me about it later, and then I had to disown her after that. So
yeah, right.
Yeah, down one sister.
My sister is currently trying to put their house on the market. They've been there for like 14 years or something, and get something a little bit bigger, whatever, same school district, all that stuff. And she got so stressed out, right? Like she's canceled 2 or 3 times with a real estate agent because she's like, I got to get it clean. I got to do this. I got to do that. And so we were talking, and she was like, what about all these, like, just I get an offer? Like, I'm pretty sure she'd be willing to give up $50,000 worth of price to just not deal with it.
That's crazy.
Shocking to me, right? So,
but, yeah, I would never do that. I mean,
everybody you wouldn't ever do.
I would walk to Dallas right now for 50. You know, like,
yeah,
literally. Yeah,
I know. Right?
I'll see you in 2 days, Jake. Maybe 4. I don't know.
But people value different things in the process, right? And that's the advantage of every real estate agent being a human that you have, is you can pick up and you can understand just based off of a conversation what's the important part for them, right?
Well, let's talk about this guy. Now I'm going to screw up his name. He's the one who invested in this thing, and his name is Chamath Palihapitiya. Yeah. I'm just phonetically sounding it out, so if I butchered it, I'm very sorry. But this guy's very interesting, Jake. So he's invested this money, right, through multiple. They call them pipes, like private, whatever, through other people's money, with the goal of 10xing this investment of this 4.8 million or billion. So they're trying to 10x it to 48 billion. He must be a Grant Cardone fan. And now this guy, though, because like I did some research on him, right? And he's been very successful. But do you know that he's the ex-VP of Facebook growth? And he's the guy who is on all of these different interviews and documentaries. So like he's on The Social Dilemma, which is the new Netflix documentary. And what they're talking about is what they did and how sinister it was to behaviorally engineer and use what's called persuasion technology to get us to be addicted to social media. And he's the one coming out saying, oh, what we did was a bad thing. You know, technically a tool like a bicycle, right? I was watching this thing last night. A tool like a bicycle is something that, serves us, when we have a technology that needs from us, that is trying to constantly withdraw from us, change our behaviors, change our habits. He's like, it's no longer really a tool, right? It's something that is extracting instead of depositing. And the thing that is so kind of scary is that this is the guy investing and going into changing the behaviors of consumers, right? To change the way they buy and sell homes. And if you look at this guy's track record, right, he was like within the first year hired at Facebook and was a big part of creating that ride as far as changing consumers' behavior. I mean, all the way from the first experiments to the like button to tagging friends in photos. Like, he was there for the whole gamut. And if you look at how, in real estate technology, that one of the things they talked about, for example, was when you swipe down and something else populates, right? You swipe down and something else populates, and you never know what it's going to be. That behavior, I forget the specific term, but it's the very same type of addictive behavior as hitting a slot on a slot machine.
Yeah.
You don't know what the outcome is going to be, right? You just don't know. And so if you look at real estate technology, as I'm thinking about it when I'm watching this documentary, there's really not much in the way of that. It's pretty straightforward. It's like more of a tool, right? So at best, you might get update of homes that are new that match what you're looking for if you're shopping for a home, for example, right? But how many things like that could be really massaged into the real estate shopping process to make it more addictive? I know personally, Jake, I shop 2 or 3 markets without the intention of necessarily buying a home anytime soon. But I'll be bored on my phone. I'll install my social media apps. I'll get sick of it. Sometimes I even go on Facebook Marketplace. I ain't looking to buy nothing. I'm just bored. I just go on Facebook Marketplace, right? So imagine implementing those type of technologies into the real estate shopping experience and how addictive those things would be, right? This guy, he's a really scary guy. If there's going to be somebody that could do this and pull this off and change the consumer's behavior, it would be this guy, Yep. Yeah. Yeah, it's behavior manipulation, 100. Yeah.
Yes. That documentary is getting some serious... I wonder if it's going to start getting censored on Facebook when people start talking about it too.
It'll probably have a beneficial impact to Facebook, especially including social media. Like when I watched Super Size Me, all I could think about was eating a Big Mac. Like, damn, I really want the McDonald's.
That's true.
Seriously, listen, it is so hardwired and becoming so much more hardwired into our brain as an addiction. There's no way. I mean, you can't really stop it. You can't really stop it unless you make a conscious effort to stop it. But anyway, my point is, this is the guy that's going into the real estate business to change consumers' behavior, and it doesn't happen overnight. You can't change a consumer's behavior overnight. I've talked about before the book, The Culture Code, and in that book, they talk about Nestle wanting to sell coffee in Japan, and nobody drank coffee over there. They drank tea. So they made coffee-flavored candy and made this a multi-generational strategy. Now they sell I don't know how many tons of coffee in Japan. That's where this is going if we allow it as real estate agents. We could wake up, we're only a 200-year-old industry. We could wake up 50 years from now and none of this thing be here or look the same if we're not careful. And so we want to talk about how to combat it, because you said some funny things to me. You said, who's not worried about this?
The big dogs.
The big dogs. Yeah.
They got market share already, and a substantial market share.
Yeah.
And that was so my goal from this, just so everybody knows, my whole intention of when I sent this over to Mike and wanted to talk about it today, my whole intention is to like kind of shake some people awake a little bit if you don't think, if you think that it's just going to be like this forever, right? Like if you look at any industry, and this is something that Jay and Mike talk about for a long time, was part of the NAEA presentation, was just disruptive, innovation, right? Yep. So it's happened to multiple industries, right? Like lawyers with LegalZoom. The travel industry is probably the biggest, basically got wiped out. Like, could you imagine being a travel agent in the 70s?
Oh, man. Well, I think my argument there would be that the value prop was not high enough. You know what I mean? They were literally a Minuteman with a toll booth. Or a middleman with a toll booth, which is not what real estate is. LegalZoom didn't take out the entire legal industry. No. You know what I mean? Because they add more value than just the dang form. You know what I mean? Or some light, really legal advice. And so I think with real estate, that's why, I mean, they've been trying to do this for a long time. They've been trying to get rid of us. They've been trying to go after the whatever 60 billion a year in commissions it is, or whatever. I can't remember the exact number. Swanepoel came out with it at one time. Said it at that event, one of the events he was speaking at. Anyway, whatever it is, they want that money. They're trying to get it so hard. They're trying to remove us from it, and a lot of them just they don't understand what we do. You know, I'll never forget, Jake. When I first looked at the iPad and it had the app on there for what's the name of the company? Redfin. It had Redfin on there as one of the native apps that it came with. And so to me, what I thought was, I mean, I took that as a slight as an agent. I was like, well, the technology world must feel like real estate agents are, don't provide value. You know what I mean? And need to be replaced with technology. And that's why they're bundling this in willingly on the iPad for the Redfin app. And what that says to me is they just don't understand the business. They don't understand the industry. They don't understand what it is we do. They think that we're a middleman toll booth type of a model, but that's just not the case. I mean, we add so much value to the transaction, and so many transactions, I always argue, would never have happened if not for me, like a Sherpa leading them up to the top of Mount Everest, right? They just wouldn't happen. Because it's such a big, scary thing, and there's so many unknowns. And, you know, it's like if you bring your dad to ask him, right? Like, hey, what do you think of this house? You know, the thing he's going to have to do is point out all the flaws, because if he doesn't, once you're in there, you're going to be like, hey, this is broke. Why didn't you tell me about it, right? Which the advice that we always give customers is, hey, rather than that, why don't you just bring your dad over and say, hey, this is the house that I bought. Then he's free to compliment all of the great features. He's off the hook there. So like, who's going to do that, right? Who are they going to ask? I mean, there's all kinds of things stacked against them to be able to disrupt. But like I said, if somebody's going to do it, it's this guy. So,
right. And
go ahead.
No, finish your thought.
What are we going to do about it, right? What should an agent do if you want to be in this business 10 years from now? Or maybe you think generationally. Maybe you have a family brokerage, whether it's a franchise or independent, and you want to be able to leave this thing to your kids, right? You want them to be able to take over and just walk where your feet are and follow your footsteps, right? Real estate's probably been a great business for you, a great lifestyle, and you want to be able to continue that on. What are you going to do about this? You need to do something. You can't just sit there with your head in the sand and say, oh, well, you know, good luck. I don't think they're going to make it. Because, again, research this guy.
Yeah. And this is where it's like, rise, baby, like stand up. Like don't let them just come in and take it, right? And the biggest thing I've always said with real estate specifically, like value unarticulated is value unappreciated, right? Like a lot of people don't understand, or they've had such a bad experience because, to be honest with you, part of the problem with the real estate industry, like the perception of agents. And Swanepoel came out with his study that NAR commissioned or whatever, the danger report, was the number one threat to the industry was the masses of marginal agents. So, like agents that really don't have a ton of experience and aren't adding a lot of value in the process versus like, I could go to a KW office down the street on Preston Road where there's 300 plus agents and I could just pull two random business cards. One could be an agent out of that office that sells like 300 houses a year. One could be like the mayor of Frisco, who sells like 50 or 60 houses a year too, on top of being the mayor, which is a good way to have a brand in your marketplace.
Yeah, for sure.
And,
your brand could lead to you being the mayor if you do it
right. Right. Yeah. And or you could be someone that just got licensed, right?
Right.
And if they're not taking their craft serious and all that stuff, like they could leave it to bad taste in someone's mouth. But when they work with, if they're at the lake and they're working with you, who sold the most houses out of anybody, right? Like there's a lot of value they're going to get out of dealing with you versus dealing with some brand new person, right? But certainly more than a company that's just a corporate entity, because you have the ultimate trump card, which is like ability to build a real relationship with them. Right.
So, the thing about it is this, my first meeting in real estate, right? I'm 19, 20 years old. I walk into this real estate office and it's a conference room, right? And all these agents, I think there were 30 of them in this independent company at the time, sitting around this table, pounding their fists on the table, like snarling at each other, because they were chunking up the territories that they were going to use to farm, right? And so this was my territory. This is your territory. Obviously, I don't even know what the heck's going on. So I got some garbage territory, right? Way out in the hood of the lake, right? Like out like Ivy Bend or something. I forget. No, maybe it was more towards Warsaw. Anyway, I got some crap because I didn't know what I was walking into. But my point is, that was the way that you used to protect your territory, right? You used to farm it. Okay. You used to send out mailers and you would try to stay top of mind. And if you were in a brokerage where you guys had territories, you would want to keep everybody else out of your territory. Obviously, all the rest of the agents could compete, right? But that was the idea. That was the goal. And today, the only thing that someone could do to combat this, right, is to farm their database. And a database is the same as farming a territory. It's the same concept. It's just the digital version. And that was our back and forth joke. Like, the big dogs don't worry because they have such massive databases that they have spent a long time curating, a long time spending a lot of money on, right? That they know they have this brand recognition, top of mind consciousness, and they have this pack of audience, right? People who are paying attention to them whenever they send out correspondence and information, especially as it becomes contextual, which, I mean, if they're looking to buy or sell, now all of a sudden that newsletter that they've been sending out for the past 5 years becomes relevant, right? Or whatever offer they're putting out into the market to that database, And so the idea of having a database and farming it digitally is something that for some people it sounds so daunting, and it's like, well, if I was going to do that, I should have done it. The old saying is the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now, right? And to get in front of these people, right, that are going to do exactly what we're talking about before they come into your market is the key, right? Having that database of those people who have raised their hand and given you permission to call them, given you permission to email them, given you permission to text them, given you permission to market to them, because it is permission-based marketing that we like to prescribe and personally subscribe to, right? That is the real key to making sure that you're able to combat these people. And you have to understand, when they do come into your market, which they will if they're not there already, the offer is too sexy for them to not at least check it out to discount, right? That's what I learned with the guaranteed sale program. Like, we had 3 top agents in my market, right? You had to call one of every 3. Almost every seller did, right? They would want to interview 3 agents, And so I was able to kind of crowbar my way into that mind share. So they'd have to call me too, because the offer was too sexy to discount. And so it'll be the same thing with this. But the truth is, there's going to be a lot of people who aren't interested in this, that aren't takers. There's going to be a lot of rumors out there too. They're like, oh, they just lowball offer you. There's going to be a lot of people who don't take action because of those rumors. And so, it doesn't really change the strategy necessarily. It just makes the strategy that much more important. And it probably will thin the herd, so to speak, as far as agents are concerned, depending on the market that they're able to take. Either we'll just have more agents with less markets here. But regardless, the way to combat this is to make sure that you have that relationship with a large database in your market, right?
Yep.
Would you agree? Yeah.
I would 1000% agree.
Yeah. That's what to do about it.
Yeah, and I will always try to beat this into people's heads of, like, the bigger database. Like, if you do a good job marketing to your database, that's the most valuable asset that you own, without a doubt. Like, that has the most value to you monetarily.
Well, for the old school agents out there, we used to call it a book of business, right? It'd be like your people that you've done business with, that you're going to continue to do business with. The difference is, these people, there's more of them. It's way easier to touch them now because it costs you nothing to send out an email, right? It costs you nothing to send out a text message or a no-ring voicemail. I mean, maybe a few cents, but in comparison, it doesn't cost you really jack to stay in touch with them. And it's just much bigger. It's just a much bigger, sphere of people that are paying attention to you. And any large agent, any mega agent, guaranteed they have a mega database. You know what I mean? There's just there's no question about it. And the way to do that quickly and to build yours today, right now, as we're broadcasting this, is through direct response marketing, pay-per-click marketing. I was talking to a guy about SEO, and he's like, "Yeah, I want to do this SEO," and I was like, "Listen, you should do that. That's awesome, but don't wait for that. You can just get right to the goal right now by spending a few bucks,
Yep.
and do both. Anyway.
Yep. And like the whole thing with Opendoor, like the scary part to me is like they can adapt, right? Like once someone gets super, super deep pockets, like that's like when
what happened? Do we get kicked off?
Yeah, maybe just reset. Anyway, people like Zillow, right? Like people that want to try and get into like I got to create a site that's going to make it. Where Zillow, like if you're trying to do that on your own and compete with Zillow, like they spend hundreds of millions of dollars on R&D every single year to make their stuff better. Like you don't have those pockets. So like with Opendoor, like they already have a pretty good concept. Like they can adapt. Like that's their. I mean, they've now got crazy brains that are going to be on this as well. So the key is like right now it's one of the better markets. Like it has stayed hot through this crazy pandemic. Like the time on market keeps shrinking and all that stuff in most markets. Like now is the like if you are sitting back and waiting, like now is the time to like be like, okay, let me make a business out of this. Like let me go all in with creating a real business, you know what I mean? And not just kind of dabbling into helping some people out and doing my 10, 15, 20, 30 transactions. Like create a business that's lasting, you know what I mean? Because that was the one thing that I keep taking away from conversations with Jim over the weekend, a couple weekends ago, was he's willing to put 100 hours into new agents that are coming into his brokerage because he's got one goal in mind: try and collapse what took him 10 years into people to do in 2. And plenty of ways that you can do that, and now is the best time to do that. And based off of what I read this morning from Inman's thing, Gary Keller was predicting a year or two of some rather kind of changing to get a little bit tougher here. He called it tough times, not rough times, tough times, of a year and 2, which I'd be interested to actually read that and see why he's thinking that.
I don't know. I mean, he's always kind of predicting tough times.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, even 2 years ago, he was predicting tough times, and it didn't happen. His business grows in tough times, so I think he's waiting for him. You know what I mean? Right. Because people who are at other models don't have to have the overhead. Listen, it's always good to be prepared for tough times. But the problem with that, in my opinion, is you never become offensive to go and take advantage of the good times. And I think that's your argument.
Yes.
It is a good time. It stayed a good time. Fed just came out and said, hey, we're going to keep interest rates low for several years in an attempt to stimulate what's the word I'm looking for? Inflation, which is something that we never do. And I think that's going to create a really amazing real estate market over the next several years. Personally, I mean, we'll see, every prediction. But
at some point, we've had one hell of a run here with the real estate market, since the last little boom. And then I think, even us, when the pandemic hit, it got into scary mode, especially with all the forbearances and all that stuff that was happening. But
which there's a good argument for that still being a huge factor and possibly a glut on inventory, which would turn it back into a buyer's market and have a downward, have downward pressure on pricing. But who knows? It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
The strategy's the same.
That's my point. Is like there's no better time than right now, right? Like the same thing that you were just talking about with the trees, right? The best time was the start 20 years ago. The second best time is right now.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, they probably feel like, well, if I was going to do that, I should have done it,
Right. Yeah. And it's just like, it's too late now,
It's not, though. It's not. I mean, there's probably 99% of the agents in your market don't do that. So it's not too late.
And I think with what we do, and obviously I'm going to be very biased here, but like with what we do, it's suited to make sure that you're covering your basis on this point of building an audience, marketing to them, branding yourself in a way that all of the top agents around the country do, just without having to have a massive team or
spend all the money.
Spend all the money. Like the budget can be a fraction of the budget and have the same outcome, which has been our whole goal this whole way, right? Because the biggest difference between someone that's not scared of someone coming into the marketplace because they've got 11% market share in their place, 17% market share in their market. Like they're not worried that like it's just little dent, right? Like they've got business like that. That's something that they can really sell, like what you did in at the lake, So if you can do that, that's the whole point of what we built with Market Maker, is to be able to just turnkey that in a way that keeps you focused on being face-to-face with people, which is what you get paid the most amount of money to do, but have us be helping with the assembly line of keeping people coming to get in front of you.
Yeah, and also that relationship with your database. It's automated, When I tell people about what we do, they're like, what? And the appointment just goes on their calendar? I'm like, yeah. They're like, that has to be the greatest thing ever for an agent. And I'm like, we like to think so. Anyway, let's wrap it up. If you want some help with this stuff, go to marketmakercall.com. Watch a short video on how we help you build that database. We call that generating leads. Nurture that database. That's staying in touch with the database, keeping top of mind consciousness with them, and then ultimately deliver them to your calendar as an appointment that's pre-positioned. In other words, they know something about you. They know who you are. You are positioned as an expert in your field, somebody who's not just chasing them all around the place because they filled out a form on the internet. Again, if you'd like some help with these things, go to marketmakercall.com. Check it out. It is exclusive. It's one agent per zip code. Marketmakercall.com.
Go get it. Like we always say here at Market Maker, you are always just one pre-position appointment away.
Every day.
Go get it. Peace.